All right, so Ash, I wanted to ask you. I saw your article this morning, and I kind of thought the same thing you did when Cruz decided to pick today to announce his vice presidential pick, that he was trying to steal a little bit of Trump's thunder. So I was sort of wondering what your opinion is of that, and do you think it's going to work for him?
No, it's not going to work because what happens when Trump does this is that the entire media gives up everything that they're talking about to just focus on Trump, right? Because it generates clicks, it generates viewers, and everything it works out. With Cruz, I mean, when I was writing that article, I flipped around to what CNN, MSNBC, and Fox was covering, and none of them were covering Cruz. One was
Right.
covering Bernie Sanders. One was talking about Trump calling Hillary Clinton, saying she was using a gender card. And then the other one was saying Trump didn't do as well in Pennsylvania as they thought he was going to do, or something like that. But like none of them were talking about Cruz's big announcement. So it didn't really work out for him. I mean, when he gave the announcement, like they were all watching it, right? But
Right.
right after that, it was just back to a like, oh, this thing happened today, whatever. It just didn't make news the way that Trump's announcements did.
And how do you feel? What do you feel about that? What that might do to Carly Fiorina's political future if she attaches herself to a losing ticket at this point?
I mean, she didn't really have a political future by being a failed presidential candidate, so now
Ooh, mean.
doesn't really have a political future if she's a failed vice presidential primary ticket, but it does keep her in the news and might set her up to be like, here is the pragmatic woman. Let's not forget Carly Fiorina in the future, you know?
Right. Okay. Professor, you got a question you want for Ash here? We only got about 20 minutes of it.
Ash, are you going on record as saying that it's a desperate attempt by Ted Cruz to name Carly Fiorina as a VP?
It's very desperate, and I like Carly Fiorina. You know, I think she's great, and she could have been anybody's great VP pick. But I mean, this is nobody announces their VP pick during the primary.
I know.
Like, that just doesn't happen. So it's obvious that it's a very desperate ploy, and it's just not going to work.
And Ash, just for the record, because we ask this of every guest that comes on, do you think that Asians should need hair and eye color on their driver's licenses?
You know, I was actually thinking about this and what kind of answer I was going to give for this. My normal answer would say, you know, yes, because what on the off chance that, like...
That's racist. You know, I'm really disappointed in you, Ash.
No, I'm saying yes, because wouldn't it be racist not to just assume that every Asian has, you know, eye and hair color? Wasn't the main character of Memoirs of a Geisha, didn't she have blue eyes? Okay, like, that's but my answer that I thought of for the show was that what if one day there's an Asian person who doesn't identify as Asian?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Good one.
Then they're gonna need that.
But yeah, see, the problem with not having it on there for Asian people is if you have a Caucasian person who identifies as Asian, that means you can't ask that question. You can't ask them what their eye and hair color is because that's bigoted. You are denying the reality of their subjective experience.
Right, and it's always possible for people to dye hair. I don't know if people update their driver's license every time they dye hair, but if you've decided that you want to be blonde and you're going to stick to being blonde, then, you know, and your driver's license says dark hair, then that's kind of tough.
I just want to remind all the listeners here, by the way, that Ash is taking time away from her dinner and her busy schedule writing for the Washington Examiner, and I really appreciate
Give an
you
interview
coming
in an alleyway.
I know. Are you on a date, Ash? Are you on a date with someone? Can we see who your date is?
Yeah, let's introduce us to your date. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, let's see him.
We might.
I have to go through a crowded, loud restaurant. So.
Well, we appreciate you coming outside and talking to us, and hopefully we can get you back on when there's a little more time.
Wait, we don't have any more time? Oh, well, no, we have some more time.
I hope we have some more time, right, Ash?
Got a little bit.
All right. I want to get quickly to one other thing that I read on your. I was going through all of your articles this afternoon, and because you seem to cover a topic that really annoys me on a weekly basis, as these two guys will tell you, and that's the current atmosphere on college campuses. And I enjoyed your article on Missouri and how they're suffering in terms of enrollment. And I was wondering if you had any other insight into that. How bad is it there? Is it going to get worse? And why do you think other campuses don't seem to be paying that same price?
Well, you remember that Missouri had the Melissa Click episode, so you had to see that not only are the students behaving this way, but the faculty behaves this way, and that the president stepped down due to this. So it was really the inmates running the asylum situation going on there. So you kind of really had all of those things coming together to show, like, this is a school that you might not want to go to unless you agree with these people. And the other problem, one of the things that was brought up from my article, and a lot of people tried to knock me on, was like, oh, well, you didn't think of any other possible reason that enrollment is down, like that apparently high school graduation rates in Missouri are down across the board or something, so that might be the reason. But it's like, yeah, like, from what I hear, like Missouri State University, I believe, saw enrollment go up by like 25%, and yet the University of Missouri saw enrollment go down by 25%. So it's really not that it's high school graduation levels or anything other than Mizzou just looks like a toxic school right now.
And didn't the email announcement from the president of Mizzou to the faculty, didn't it specifically state due to an unexpected drop in enrollment?
Right, the first email where they mentioned the drop in enrollment, they said it's unexpected, and we're going to have to cut services. There's going to be a staff pay freeze, or so all of the protesters wanted like a new faculty, right, new diversity hires or whatever, and how like because of their actions you can't afford that because even the professors that are there can't get a raise right now, and that services is going to be cut. Then they had a follow-up email about a month later saying that 2 dorms were not going to house students next year because of an expected drop in enrollment. So you saw it was unexpected, and then a month later, all right, now everything else is expected.
What do you think about the way this spreads? I mean, since Mizzou is far from the only campus that's a zoo right now, do you think there's going to be a decline nationwide in terms of college enrollment and maybe in the way corporations view people with these college degrees and maybe not so favorably anymore?
Corporations might start viewing people with a Mizzou degree or an Emory degree, because what happens if you graduate from Emory and go to a job now? Like, one of the first questions you're going to be asked is, "Are you afraid of chalk?" I mean, it might end up hurting. I think that other universities are going to have to get to the level of Mizzou. And the other thing with Mizzou is that it was a public university that was not Ivy League. So a lot of the craziness is taking place on Ivy League colleges. So you have Harvard, Yale, these other schools that are saying, oh, we can't call them house masters because master was a term used with slavery, and apparently we can't handle this, right? Or we have to change the seal because, or we have to stop naming buildings after these people who held slaves, or we say that they were colonialists or something, and these are bad things, so we can't have that. But they're all happening on Ivy League campuses, so it's going to be really hard to say, for students to be like, oh, I'm not going to go to Harvard because of this, because it's still Harvard. But the University of Mizzou isn't Harvard, and it's not Yale or Columbia or Cornell. So Ivy Leagues might survive this. I mean, they are kind of being hurt because you're starting to see, really, Ivy Leagues are these bastions of liberal thought, and they're also apparently bastions of racism. I mean, people are starting to see cracks, but they still have better reputations than University of Mizzou.
One more quick question. I want to let Professor get one in. Don't you think if a university has to start laying off professors, they should start with Asian computer studies professors?
If they have to start laying off professors? Or laying off?
Starting with Professor Nick.
Asian computer studies professors.
You know how many college graduates don't know computers? Don't lay off those professors. I have a friend,
so take that, Baconman.
Now, I got to say something that Professor will find interesting. There's a open source project today that had that exact same note entered on it that they're not going to call drives master and slave drives anymore
because
of racially charged.
Yeah.
Oh,
Didn't
my-
Insane.
Hamburger Harper started that, didn't she?
Well, I'm surprised that they're not, upset about, the electrical cords, male and female plugging.
Yes, I was waiting for
Yeah,
that.
They didn't account
exactly.
for that
No, that's coming,
because
Ash.
maybe the plug-in doesn't identify as male or female.
Yeah, I got to tell my
What's the
boss
number?
I can't charge my computer today because it doesn't identify as a male this afternoon. Maybe
Right.
tomorrow.
It doesn't
But
want
I
to
have
go
to
into
ask
the...
Ash this question before she goes, because I'm really triggered by your last name, and I think you should feel bad about culturally appropriating Asian last names. What do you have to say
Gal
about
is
that?
Asian?
What? Yeah, isn't that Asian? Don't you feel bad?
No, it's Norwegian.
Oh, it's Norwegian. Oh, you know what the problem is?
At
All
one
us white
point,
people
one
look
of
alike
you,
to you, Professor.
Right. Professor included
I'm
me in
disappointed
a
in
tweet
Ash.
that was like, "Oh, we've got the Asian coalition." I was like, "Wait, what? Something that I'm not actually Asian? Oops. I don't know if it's been some belief all this time, but no, Norwegian."
Well, see, now you've crushed a lot of Asians, Ash.
My
But
sense of it is you
ask
fit right in here.
before. My old heritage photo that you can still find it online. Apparently, one of my coworkers asked if I was a little bit Asian. I was like, no.
But you do kind of look Asian, I have to say.
I don't mind
My
it.
last question for you, Ash, is and this is what someone wanted me to ask you, which is who are you supporting for the GOP candidate, and why is it Donald Trump?
I don't even know what I'm going to do this year. That was the person I voted for in Virginia is not still in the race, and I am not really looking forward to this election. I do think it would be absolutely hilarious if Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump so that it could just be America's way of really, really telling Hillary we don't want her to be president and to just please go away now. We wanted Obama more than you, who had only been in the Senate for 2 years. And now, we'd rather have this reality television star than you. Just please stop.
Are you disgusted by the way John Kasich eats pancakes?
He eats a lot of food in a really weird way. I mean, and he eats a lot of food. I mean, his campaign basically at this point is just a food tour. And then I guess if I were running for president and I had no hope of actually becoming president, then I would probably find something to enjoy about the campaign. So maybe I would enjoy all the money my campaign spent on my clothes. Maybe that would be my thing. But John Kasich has gone with food.
Did
And
you
I
see?
think that might say a lot about the man.
Did you see Geraldo try to defend him last night?
What did Geraldo say?
All right, on Fox News last night, he said that it was rather. He told Sean Hannity that it was cruel of Donald Trump to make fun of Kasich's eating disorder, and when he was pressed further on that and said, "What do you mean by an eating disorder?" He said, "Well, nobody just gobbles like that normally." I thought it was probably
But
the worst.
this is America. Have you ever been to Walmart?
Exactly. Well, maybe Kasich's hoping he gets a Food Network gig out of this instead of since he has no shot at the GOP.
I think he actually told an interviewer at some point that he's doing a food trip around a country at this point, and that seems to be it. All these photos, it's not just him eating one dish. It's food all over. It's just people are just I want to be in the photograph with John Kasich eating. That just seems to be the new meme at this point.
I hear he's going to name Papa John his running mate soon, any day now.
That guy might actually be a Republican. So
he is. No, he is. That's why.
This election cycle, I mean, seriously, Carly Fiorina got announced as Ted Cruz's possible VP, and then she sang to his children on national television. So, I mean, and Donald Trump, a reality TV star, is going to be the Republican nominee. So, I mean, anything can happen at this point. Nothing would surprise me, honestly.
Well, last night, Newt Gingrich opined that if Cruz went ahead and named a VP pick this afternoon, that it would look desperate and make him appear out of touch with reality, as though he doesn't realize that he's taken this kind of a beating, and it would certainly come off as a Hail Mary ploy to steal some attention. And I do think that seems to be the way it's playing in the press. And you seem to be. Do you agree with Newt Gingrich? Was this a desperate Hail Mary?
Yeah, it definitely was. I mean, it was a Hail Mary named Carly Fiorina. But like I said earlier, like nobody announces a VP pick during the primary. Like you have to be the nominee first. So
It's just a bad move. It's on the heels
yeah,
of.
it's definitely desperate because he lost 5 states in a row. He came in a distant second in Pennsylvania and third in every other state to John Kasich, who has fewer votes than Marco Rubio, who dropped out a month ago. So it was a really bad night for Cruz. And he can say, oh, we knew it was going to be a bad night all we wanted, but that bad? I mean, he's not going to, I don't think he's going to get really any delegates away from Trump. Trump's about to hit 1,000, and we've got, a delegate-rich state of California coming up. So, and Trump's probably going to win that. Indiana is basically Cruz's last hope. Cruz really doesn't have a chance to get the nomination on his own. His only hope at this point is a contested convention, and if he wins at a contested convention, his whole presidency, his whole primary, his whole candidacy is going to be marked by this whole idea that he stole it, that he didn't actually earn it because he didn't get the votes. He didn't get enough votes. Especially if Trump gets near 1,237 and doesn't get the nomination, it's just always going to look like this was the GOP establishment taking it away from Trump. And you think Trump voters are going to accept that? I don't think so.
Do you think that between the alliance he made with Kasich and then this VP nomination that he's getting some bad advice, or why do you think he's adopted these strategies? This is 2 weeks in a row now that just seem to be utter failures.
It's a desperate campaign trying to do anything. I mean, look what Rubio did in the last weeks of his campaign, where he turned into a stand-up comedian and making fun of Trump's hands and penis size. I mean, and that was a desperate campaign. This is Cruz's version, which is Carly Fiorina or this alliance with Kasich, which Kasich broke within a day. It was ridiculous.
Yep.
Like the Kasich that everybody sees on the campaign trail right now, this whole I just want to give everybody a hug, let's go along to get along Kasich. That's not John Kasich. John Kasich is a ruthless politician, and people in Ohio know that. People in Ohio like him, but they also know that he is ruthless. And so for Trump to make a deal with him like that was utterly insane, because Kasich was never going to follow that. Kasich is in it for Kasich.
Right, an interesting story
what
too
is
yesterday.
his end goal right now?
Yeah, I was gonna. What is his end goal? He said right now. What could Kasich
Kasich?
possibly be in it for?
Maybe hopefully a VP pick, because he doesn't have to run for re-election because he was already re-elected in Ohio. So I guess the only thing he could be hoping for is to be somebody's VP. Trump's VP.
I said on Twitter the other day that all these politicians are kind of using Kasich to get what they want, and I think someone has convinced him to stay in this race to block Trump a while ago. There's no other reason he'd still be in here humiliating himself. And then
but he's not doing enough to block Trump. Like Rubio maybe could have stayed in to block Trump, but Kasich, like I said, Kasich doesn't even have as many votes as Rubio. He might after last night, but he didn't even have as many votes as Rubio, and Rubio dropped out a month ago. Like, how are you blocking Trump? If anything, you were blocking Cruz from potentially being the sole anti-Trump candidate.
Yeah, Kasich is only blocking Cruz. He's not blocking Trump.
I agree. I mean, I'm just saying that's one of the theories that was out there. I don't really agree with it, but there is some reason that he's still in there. Maybe it's just ego. I don't know what else it could be. And I saw an interesting story yesterday that said his supporters are furious with him because a lot of these guys who loved him have been beating on doors and making phone calls and on the ground for 6-7 months, and then he comes in and says, "Hold on, we're just going to give this state to Cruz." And they feel pretty betrayed, and a lot of them are saying, "Screw it, we're just going to keep campaigning. We're not even going to listen to him."
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I would be pretty frustrated too if I was out there doing work for you, and then we're going to give it to Cruz, and then he broke the agreement a few hours later anyway. So why? I mean, they were right to not stop because he was never going to hold himself to that.
The only thing I can see that Kasich gets out of this is if it goes to a brokered convention, he's hoping to parlay the delegates he might get, however small they are, to get some concession or some favor or some position, ambassadorship or cabinet position, from whoever he throws his votes to. That's the
Yeah,
only
that's
thing I
that's
could
all
see.
he can hope for at this point, because he's not going to be president. He can't possibly think that he will be when people don't want him to be. I mean, he won Ohio. That was it. He hasn't even come close in any other state.
Well, and he can't even be the nominee unless he wins at least 8 states. So
Well,
he
yeah, I mean, I don't know if they're going to hold that rule, because I'm not sure if that would make Trump the nominee even in a contested convention, because I don't believe Cruz has won 8 states outright that way. Trump's the only one who could possibly be the nominee with that rule.
Right.
But Kasich, who at the end of the last primary of New York, I believe, needed 140% of remaining delegates, so that he was mathematically eliminated like weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. Like right around the time Rubio dropped out, I believe Kasich was already mathematically eliminated. So for him to stay in this long, and his reasoning is that people need to coalesce around me to stop Trump. And it's like, nobody's coalescing around you except Ohio.
It's the worst. It's got to be the worst deal in Trump. See, I liked what they said yesterday. I heard even Geraldo said it. He said, in a time when voters are clearly angry about politicians making backroom deals and being politicians in general, they're just sick of it. Here comes 2 career politicians to make a backroom deal, essentially, but they pulled the curtain back and did it in public, and it was just embarrassing, and it just angered the voter base even more than they were.
Well, it's a little bit better than Ben Carson's closet deals, if you remember that article where didn't he like meet with Ted Cruz or somebody in a closet to yell at them about something? Yeah,
I heard that, yeah.
Backroom deal in the open press, still a little bit better than closet deal.
Somebody brought that up, I think it was to Megyn Kelly, and she said he should have done it with Rubio because he would fit in there. He's so tiny. He's little Marco.
Yeah.
I also heard Ashe, before I let you go.
Ash get back to her.
Yeah, one more question for you,
go.
Ashe. All right, go ahead. Thank you for coming on. Hopefully we'll get you back, right?
Yeah, definitely. I remember to keep my Wednesdays open.
All right, well, have a fun rest of your date if he hasn't gotten mad at you by now.
Yeah,
we'll
come
see.
on, we're more fun.
I am having fun, but I don't want to like leave them.
No, I don't blame you. We'll get you back, though. Thank you for coming on.
You're awesome, Ash. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, she's cool.
Boy, every single week it seems like I can't get this freaking show started without some kind of problem, doesn't it? It's either barking dogs or the microphones drop out. It's always just something,
Yeah. No, I know. It started off okay. It was great having Ash on.
She's pretty awesome, man. I wanted to get her on before. I never really thought to ask her because I figured she was just too busy. So, I mean, here she is taking time out of a date. That's pretty great. Unfortunately, I feel like I stole all the questions, but I had some written down, and
Oh, that was good. I would have just asked dumb questions.
Well, the thing is, I didn't know until maybe 20 or 30 minutes before the show. I didn't realize that we were only going to have her for 20 minutes. So I had all these questions written down that I just kind of wanted to rapid fire them off to get to them. Otherwise, I didn't know. I thought I'd waste all the time. So moving on.
Great.
Well, I'm glad. Thank you. I read all her. She's a good writer, man. If she's over on Washington Examiner, if you haven't read her stuff, it's WashingtonExaminer.com. Just search her name or click her name. She writes, several. It's almost blog-like the way she cranks these out. So, and they're opinion pieces, but they're good.
Yeah, she's the one that exposed the fact that 1 in 5 rape stat was inaccurate. That it's more like 1 in 40. But she did a really good article detailing why that statistic is wrong.
Yes, and she's also got an article up there about a bad bill being introduced, I guess for the 3rd straight year in Congress about campus sexual assaults. So that's worth a look also. If I apologize to anyone who's trying to ask her questions in the chat because I can't see it. What happens here is that I tried to use Chrome to start the show today, and no one could hear me for some reason. It wasn't accessing the microphone. I had to switch back to Safari, and if I launch the Hangout plus the YouTube page, it just crashes everything. Safari just doesn't like it, so I cannot see the chat. And so if you were trying to ask questions, you just should have submitted them beforehand like I told you to. I'm sorry. I apologize. Now, I got a question for you two gentlemen on a more entertaining, lighthearted topic. At least it's in the field of entertainment, even though I find it quite irritating. Apparently, Will Ferrell has signed on to star in a movie called, I think it's called Reagan, where he is going to play Ronald Reagan in a fictional account of his second term. So the gist of the story is that Will Ferrell plays Ronald Reagan riddled with Alzheimer's, who gets through the second term of his presidency when they have to convince him that he is starring in a movie about being the president. Which, to me, I mean, look, I'm not a censorship guy, and I usually don't get offended at movies, but man, it just seems so distasteful, doesn't it? Doesn't that just leave a bad taste in your mouth?
Will Ferrell? Come on.
Well, I mean, I kind of knew he was sort of a closet liberal. I mean, he's not really all that political. He doesn't do a lot. I believe I don't hear him anyway very often. But even for Hollywood, this just seems like a below the belt punch.
Yeah, they could have picked someone better, you know.
I mean, the guy died of Alzheimer's, for God's sake. Warpig, what do you think? Does it make you throw up in your mouth a little to hear that?
It's just another incidence of Hollywood thinking that because they hate someone, that making fun of the person they hate automatically is funny and that audiences will automatically laugh and love it. I mean, it is a complete disconnect with how real humor works. If you look at a lot of people like Margaret Cho, her entire shtick is, oh, this person over there is stupid and scummy, ha ha ha, and the audience laughs because they hate that person. Well, that's not real humor, and more importantly, with someone like Ronald Reagan, you're going to have two groups of people. You're going to have the group of people who usually go to Will Ferrell comedies who don't even know who the hell Ronald Reagan is. They don't remember Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan is just some guy. I mean, the last year of his presidency was 1988. All right? Yeah. That is a really long time ago. Okay? That is 28 years ago.
Right.
So anyone younger than 28 wasn't even alive during his presidency. They're not going to have any opinion on Ronald Reagan other than they've heard he's a bad guy. The other people who remember Reagan and love Reagan are going to hate you and hate your movie and hate the actor making fun of Ronald Reagan because of it. It is a bad idea. It's not funny just by the very nature of humor. It's not humorous.
It's not. And here's the deal. The script had been sitting around a while apparently, and it's on something which you're probably familiar with called the Blacklist, which is somebody, I'm not even sure who compiles it, but every year someone compiles a list of like the 30 or 40 greatest scripts or screenplays that are not for some reason being developed, and
Top 100.
Appears top 100. Okay, so it appears that's where Will Ferrell's production company plucked it from. Gomez, I think, is that the Dirty Gomez or something? Some weird freaking name is his production company. So I don't know about this one. All I can say is that if the funeral and the death of Nancy Reagan demonstrated anything, it's that there is still quite a reverence for the Reagan family in American pop culture. And even if you weren't an 80s kid like I was, and you didn't have this nostalgic attachment to it, I still think a lot of people are. I just don't think this is going to pass the smell test. Making fun of a guy who died of Alzheimer's and pretending you were. I mean, I just don't see how this plays in for anyone outside of the Hollywood crowd.
Yeah, it is kind of an insult.
It's going to be one of those movies that everyone at Sundance loves, and it does $10. I would hope anyway. That it goes, you know. I mean, it's a terrible idea. Also, for those of you who don't know it, Deadpool has been released on Amazon way faster than I or anyone else expected. So it's not on Prime, but you can rent it on Amazon. It just seems to me like it was in theaters last week, but if you haven't seen it, man, it's worth it.
You know, I'm surprised that Star Wars is already on DVD, and to me that just was released, a couple of months ago. It seemed like just yesterday. But,
well, you probably got to accelerate that schedule because Disney plans on releasing a Star Wars movie every other month. So from now to 2020. So I don't know how much. These things do seem like they're. Warpig, you're the movie guy, even more than I am. Doesn't it seem like these things are making it to Blu-ray faster and faster than they have in recent years?
I'm sure they are, but I mean the problem is that movies have to make a lot more money than they have been because Hollywood's profit margins are getting razor thin. They've got like a 5% profit now. That's how much profit they make off the movie business, 5%. And so when you hear all these super duper blockbusters and how much money they're making, you got to remember in terms of actual profit, it's only 5%, and they are fighting very, very hard to try and make things profitable. So the closer the window is between when a movie is out of the theaters and when it comes out on video, the more money they can squeeze out faster.
Is that a real 5%, or is that fuzzy Hollywood accounting 5%?
No, that's the actual amount of money they get back from the movie business, from a studio.
Not
a single movie, but the movie business.
You know how they're pretty famous for claiming they didn't make a dime off movies that are blockbusters. You know what I'm saying? That weird accounting method they have.
Yeah, no, this is 5% of the money that a studio invests in movies, not a specific movie, just movies in general in a year. They are making 5% off of that, and that's low. That is a low profitability. So that's why movie studios are panicking so much, is they are just not as profitable as they used to be, and there's a lot of theories about why, but they're in trouble.
Yeah, that's why they keep doing these reboots, like Spider-Man, because those are sure things, because they're losing a lot of money.
I think I could get behind a reboot of Iron Eagle. Don't you, Daddy Warpig? Could you get behind that?
Sure, why not? Louis Gossett Jr. is a great actor, and the first one was a good movie, but it wasn't a super great movie.
Right, it could be done a little bit better. I liked it.
Yeah.
The soundtrack was killer. I mean, Queen was on there. I don't get behind reboots very often, but if Iron Eagle could get one, I'd be down.
I will say this. I think one of the big reasons Hollywood is not very profitable nowadays is they are desperate to make every movie they can a sure thing, but they are also desperate to sneer at their audience, which drives their profit margins down because they have nothing but loathing and contempt for normal people and for the values and morals of normal people. And in order to make movies a sure thing, they're dumping millions, tens of millions of dollars into the salaries of people who are supposedly stars, when the fact is the era of the star is over. Stars do not hold in audiences. Just because you stick a star in a movie does not mean the people who like that star are going to see the movie. There is too much publicity about the private lives of actors to give them the same mystique and glamour that they had 50 and 60 years ago, so people don't go see. It's not aspirational. The lives of stars are not aspirational anymore. It doesn't look like this great faraway dreamland that is, the stars' real lives were at one point this dreamland that the audiences aspired to. So being the movie itself was an adjunct to the reputation of the star. The problem is stars, people now know the stars too much. They realize that most of them are shallow. They realize that most of them are stupid. And they may go see a movie with a star in it, but they don't admire those stars anymore. And so stars have no draw to the theater other than the draw of the movie itself. There are a couple of exceptions, like Robert Downey Jr. is kind of an exception, but even he isn't a guarantee of a movie being a success. He was in that road movie where he had Anyways, it was a road movie. It just didn't do very well, even though Robert Downey Jr. was in it. And so it's a hard time in Hollywood because they believe that putting stars in movies will help draw people there. They're willing to spend tens of millions of dollars putting stars in movies in the belief it will draw the audience in. But the audiences just aren't coming based on stars. They're only coming if they think a movie will be good, and they have developed a pretty good feel about what will be good and what won't be.
Yeah, I never thought about that. I think you're absolutely right. That's a really good analysis, Daddy Warpig.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And, I think the sneering at the audiences extends beyond the filmmakers and the stars to the critics.
Yes.
I think there's a pretty much unparalleled gap, at least in my time, of a discrepancy between the critic reviews and the average filmgoer's feelings on a movie. If you look at Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's more... I don't have any data to back this up. It's a gut feeling. My guess is that there are more and more 80% of the audience liked it, 12% of the critics liked it kind of movies than there have been in decades past. It seems like the critics have lost. They're no longer on the same page as the audience. They've joined the sneering, elitist, condescending Hollywood ranks. Do you feel that also?
Absolutely.
Yep.
Which is why, by the way, and I don't know if you like him or not, but I usually pay attention to Harry Knowles on Ain't It Cool News. I don't get that same sneer, even though he is a low-down, dirty, disgusting Bernie supporter. I don't get that same level of condescension from him.
His site is so offensively ugly. It literally hurts my eye.
It is actually brutal. It's brutal. It's an ugly, ugly site, and it needs to be destroyed. And that's a remake. That site was redone like 2 years ago. I don't understand why it's bad. Oh, I can't see the comments even on the YouTube app. Someone said I had gold in the YouTube comment section, but I just can't get to it. I don't know. I'll have this fixed for next week. I'm gonna figure out why Chrome was malfunctioning like that. Now, Professor,
Let me see if I can pull up the YouTube, and I'll ask some questions if there's anything.
Oh, okay.
If there's anything worthwhile.
Yeah, thank you. So, Professor, I'm playing the... Well, you do that, I'll tell you a story. I'm playing the Division with Ruckus last night, okay? And for a minute, I was hoping you were going to play this game, so I had all these, like, wise, jokes. I'm playing with Ruckus last night, and we're in the Dark Zone. The Dark Zone is where PvP is enabled in the Dark Zone. All kinds of nefarious stuff can happen. So anyway, I help these random strangers out to get some of their stuff out of the Dark Zone, and they turn on me and they kill me. For no reason, they just start shooting me in the back and they kill me. And I said to Ruckus, those sneaky bastards, I bet they're Asian. He starts laughing. He goes, didn't you just say they were Asian? I go, yeah, I had all this worked out for when Professor was on, but he refuses to buy the game, so I just have to use them now.
Oh, man, discrimination.
It was definitely discrimination.
Why do they have to be Asian?
Because what am I supposed to do? You won't come on the game, so now I have all these things, this material, I got to use it up.
Maybe when I finish Dark Souls. I'm almost finished with it. I have 2 more bosses to go, and then I can play some other games. So maybe
I'm telling you, man, I had Ruckus in there for hours last night, and I think the poor guy had played already for several hours. So
Ruckus is awesome.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good time on there. So you're still playing Dark Souls 3, huh?
Yeah. 2
now,
more
upstairs,
bosses.
I also promised this last week. I told you I would tell you what I thought of Far Cry Primal, and basically, it's going to be the easiest review ever.
Okay.
It's the last Far Cry. If you change the animals, and you change some of the scenery, and you change the change the characters to Neanderthals, and it's the same damn game again. I'm sorry, man. I don't. There's nothing I can say about that game that I didn't say about the last Far Cry because it's the same damn game with a new skin. There's just nothing new, and there's nothing different about it, and I'm going to blast right through it and beat it as quick as I can because I have other games I want to get to. It's still fun. I mean, it's not that it's not fun. It's just that this is a tired series. I think it's gone as far as it can. The gameplay is exactly the same. There's just nothing more to do with it. It's just time to retire that series as a whole. I think it's just done. It's so.
Isn't it like did you ever play that game Turok a long time ago? Is it like that?
You know what? I did try to play Turok. No, it isn't really like that. Turok was brutally bad. I thought anyway. I hated that game. This is not. No, this is. It's exactly like the last game where you scavenge for materials, wood, berries, and all this kind of thing. The crafting system is exactly the same, except you're building up bows and arrows and clubs and spears. It's the same thing. It's exactly like I said. Change the weapons, change the animals, change the costumes, and the game is slap a new label on it, and there you've got. That's Far Cry Primal.
I'm tired of those games, the endless quests, right?
You're not gonna like it. It's endless quest. It's not. It's a hunting gathering endless quest kind of game. It's a grind.
I like Far Cry 3 and I like Far Cry 4, even though Far Cry 4 wasn't as good as Far Cry 3. But you take the guns out of Far Cry and all of a sudden I lose most of my interest. I got Primal coming in the mail, I think today or tomorrow, but I'm playing it just to play it, not because I'm really interested in it.
I'd be interested to see if you agree with me on it then, because it is basically like taking all the fun weapons out of Far Cry 4, and it's hard to tell the difference between the games. It's the same. I could be if I could. I don't know how to say this. I could be mistaken. If you'd think I was playing the exact same game as I was with Far Cry 4. It's just that some of the scenery has changed. It's just got a makeover. It's like painting a car. It's the same car. I don't know. I'm disappointed in it. I thought there was going to be something more to it, and the taming the animals thing is sort of just a gimmick, a gadget.
Yeah,
more,
more what might have been cool? If they had the Far Cry Primal where you had two time periods. One was the primitive past, and one was the modern present, and you playing like, I don't know, the reincarnation of the guy from the Stone Age, and the things you did in the Stone Age made a difference as to how things are going in the modern time.
Oh, see, that would be cool.
You would switch back and forth. That might make it cool, because then it would, you could, like, in the far, far, far past, you gather a bunch of resources and leave them someplace, or money or whatever, and so then the modern guy goes back and discovers them, and now all of a sudden he has better weapons or gold to buy better weapons or whatever. That might be interesting.
See, that sounds good. Now, Professor, you code it. Warpig, you write it. From Warpig Asian Studios presents.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Or maybe you want to do the voiceover work, Professor, with that booming, deep voice of yours. Just write the character so he has a high-pitched voice, Warpig, that's all. We'll get him in there. So, I just finished watching Mad Max, Warpig, and Professor. Did you guys both see that movie?
Do you mean Mad Max or Mad Max Fury Road?
Fury Road.
Okay.
Yeah.
You both saw it. Okay.
Yes.
Now, I hadn't seen it in the theaters, and frankly, I don't know why. I just wasn't all that excited about it. I mean, I liked the originals quite a bit, and I didn't think I was going to love this one. So I waited until it was available. I think Cinemax On Demand had it, and I watched it the other day. And I watched it actually twice because I just wanted to be sure that I wasn't missing out. But I got to be honest, I don't get it. I don't understand. I don't get the best picture vibe. I don't get this is the greatest action movie. I just don't understand.
No, I don't know either. To me, it was an average movie. I would give it a grade of C, because I didn't think it was that good. And it was less about Mad Max and more about what's her name, the actress. It was like a feminist movie. That's what I thought.
It definitely was, and there's no reason why it would have gotten the acclaim that it did if he hadn't said that this was going to be some kind of feminist extravaganza, because it wasn't. The story wasn't that good. I think my brother, who's not a renowned film critic, summed it up best. He said, I liked the first hour and a half until I realized that they were just going to turn around and film the first hour and a half again.
Yeah,
that's what it felt like to him, and I. And having watched it twice now, I tend to agree with him. I just don't. it was an okay action movie with a pretty thin plot. I felt like it's been done. I just didn't. I don't understand the acclaim for it. So maybe I'm missing something. Warpig, am I missing something? Is it greater than I thought?
I didn't think it was a great movie. I didn't think it was a bad movie, but it wasn't a great movie.
Right. It sort of left me feeling like, yeah, it just gave me the that's eh. I would like to know how a guy who a warrior, Mad Max is a warrior who's wandered the wastelands for years. As single-handedly, I've watched him kill several hundred people in the first 3 movies, and literally goes to the ropes with a one-armed 85-pound girl. How was that possible that she gave him a run for the money?
Yeah,
I don't get it. Okay, so it's not just
I don't
me.
get it either.
Sorry, man. That's just not. I don't understand how that even got nominated or why. And I'm not even.
No,
First of all, if it is a feminist movie, don't
No
you
way
think it's
that's
odd
true.
that the first thing they did? Who was that? Was that Charlize Theron? Is that who that was?
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Don't you think it's odd? I mean, for a movie that says it's feminist, that the first thing they did was make her look like a dude.
Yeah. But no, I think that's in line with feminism, isn't it? Making her
Is
look
it?
tough and tough.
Maybe it is. She didn't look rough and tough. She looked like a guy. She looked like a guy. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know. What was the curious to see what the IMDb rating on that is, but I didn't. Have either of you? All right, 8.1. See, I'm sorry, that's about 2 points too high. Have either of you watched the new Game of Thrones?
No, I
No,
saw it.
I stopped watching after season 4. I haven't watched anything in over a year.
You know what? On second thought, I better not because that's a pretty big spoiler thing, and I don't think we haven't passed the grace period yet for that one. What have you seen? Have you seen anything interesting? Movies? What have you been watching?
I haven't seen anything. I've been busy.
I've been watching 1970s television.
On Hulu? Is that where you're finding that stuff?
Sure, let's say Hulu.
Because I went to look for some of those shows, and I couldn't. For one thing, I could not find all the WKRPs. There was only a couple of them on there. And what was the other one you were watching?
I've been watching a lot. I've been watching Taxi. I've been watching WKRP.
Taxi. I couldn't find Taxi.
Watch
That's
some
when I went to
Welcome
look.
Back Cotter. Watch some.
You watched the Rockford Files, which I love. I love the
Yes,
Rockford
I watched
Files.
some of the Rockford Files. I watched some Night Court, which is early 80s.
They got John Kasich eating again on Fox.
Barney Miller.
Night Court's awesome. I'd love to see that again, but it's one of those shows that's never streams anywhere. But that's a great show.
Yeah.
Now, I bet you that 0% of our listeners understand that the character really started on Cheers.
Oh, Harry Stone, yeah.
Yeah, that took you too long. What's the matter? What's going on over there? You're playing a game, aren't you? You're playing a game again, aren't you?
I was playing Doom 3 PFG when Ashe
I
was
knew
on.
it! I knew it. This is another one of those. I get half your attention. Professor's going to... Did you read my article? Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I should have asked... You know what? I should have had Ashe read my article. Then I would have gotten an answer.
Here's the funny thing. The same people who made Cheers also made Taxi.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same. Charles Burroughs, made Taxi. And you only know that if you watch Taxi and you realize that they're the same names. But Taxi, it doesn't happen in the same universe as Cheers. Night Court doesn't happen in the same universe as Cheers. They just took the same character and gave him his own show.
Right.
But there are 2 spin-offs from Cheers, which is Wings and Frasier.
Yeah, that's Angel, Casey, and Lee. They were 3 of the head writers on Cheers when it ended, and they spun off Frasier and Wings, and they are all in the same universe.
So I'm a big fan of Wings. I was not a big fan of Frasier. I've just disliked every single episode I've seen, except for
God!
except for the one when Sam's first girlfriend comes back.
I think I just had a stroke. Are you happy now?
Don't like Frasier. I'm not saying it's a bad show. It just didn't suit me. Didn't like it. And I love the character of Frasier.
I used to wear a
especially on
Frasier
Cheers.
tie. I had a Frasier tie I used to wear to work. I love all things Frasier. How dare you, son of a bitch! Plays games during the show. This is Frasier. I don't understand. What did I ever do to you? You know, interesting experiment this week, Professor. I made a liberal friend of mine watch. Did I tell you this last week? I might have.
No.
I made a liberal friend of mine watch, and he's pretty open-minded. He's not the usual rabid.
Is that
Doesn't want to
liberal
hear.
friend Kate Nelligan?
Oh God, no! You kidding me? She's farther to the right than I am. I made him watch the Dinesh D'Souza movie.
Oh, that's a good movie. Yeah. Which one?
America, Imagine a World Without Her.
Yeah.
And so I thought, you know, he's pretty far to the left. I mean, he's a Bernie guy, so and I did put a bottle of wine in him, so that might have had something to do with it.
What do you think?
I mean, I was drinking beer, but you know how these uppity liberals are. He had to have wine.
Yeah, they need red wine.
They need red wine, and they drink it like they did on South Park, where they smell their farts out of the glass. No, actually, I thought I said before the movie, I thought maybe you'll agree with maybe 30 or 40% of what you see here, because some of it's not really up for debate, but then there's a lot of stuff towards the end. There's some Obama bashing, so I thought maybe 30 or 40%. But when it was over, he said, it changed my mind on some stuff, and I'd say I agreed with about 80 to 85% of what I saw in the movie. And
Really? A liberal?
yeah. Yes,
Wow.
a liberal, and he actually came away saying things like, I think one of the last things he said to me was, why is it that in school no one ever told me that the first female millionaire in the United States was a black woman, the first daughter of a freed slave? I've never heard that before. How is it I've never heard that before in my life?
Yeah, I know. I've never heard that.
I'm telling you, it should be. I know some teachers around here. It's just a small town who are showing Michael Moore movies in their classes. I think 3 of them so far this year.
That's
I know.
propaganda.
It is. Not only is it propaganda, but if you're a teacher, you have a duty, a responsibility to show at least a counterpoint to that nonsense. And I think this movie would be the one. If you're going to show a Michael Moore movie, you should have to show the Dinesh D'Souza movie.
Yeah. Well, did he have that other one that I also thought was really good? Which one was that?
Obama 2016.
Right. Both
And
of those are good.
He's got one coming out. He's got Hillary 20 whatever coming out.
Well, good. Hey, what do you think about Trump's chances of beating Hillary? I think they're actually pretty good. I think he hasn't started yet, so the polls show that Hillary's beating him. But I think once Trump gets started, because he has that unique ability of finding a message that resonates with the people, whether it's Make America Great Again or Lion Ted or what does he have for Hillary? Crooked Hillary?
Crooked Hillary.
Yeah, I think that's going to resonate with the American people. And I think he has a good chance of beating her.
Well, I'll say this about his chances, okay? Up to last night, he had 2.1 million more votes during the primaries than Romney had at the same point in the primaries. So, and Republican turnout has been better in this year's primary than it has been in the past 2.
Yeah.
So it seems like he's drawing people out of the woodwork at a time when, it's he's such a cult of personality, and I've been following politics since I was a kid. I mean, I was kind of a political junkie even when I was younger, and I grew up in the Reagan days. I mean, I was young then, but I always found political communications fascinating, and I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like this.
Yeah.
This guy comes out of here with zero experience and a message that Make America Great Again. At the time, I frankly thought it was going to be too simplistic and kind of a lark.
Right.
And for it to catch on like it did, the slogan to catch on surprised me, and the amount of people that are turning out surprised me. And I think what's happening here really is that Trump is the Verizon of internet service. Okay, in other words, for the past decade, we've had these Republicans that aren't doing what we wanted them to do. They've allowed Obama to get away with everything that he's wanted to get away with. Every initiative that he's wanted to jam down our throats, they have allowed this to happen. And we didn't have any alternatives. So for 10 years, we've been going to the polls, holding our nose, and saying, well, there's nothing else we can do. I'm not enthused about it, but I'll have to pull the Republican lever. I know it's not going to work. It's just like when I get my Time Warner cable bill, I have to pay it. I'm not enthused about it. I hate Time Warner, but they're the only game in town. It's the only internet service I have. But then all of a sudden, here comes Verizon, right? And I would be super excited to say, oh my God, I can't wait to get rid of Time. I didn't know I had an alternative. I didn't know there was anything else I could do here. And I would be super thrilled to pay a Verizon bill. I get the sense that is the kind of thing that Trump is capitalizing on here. He represents an alternative that people didn't know that they had. And even if they don't agree with all of his politics, which is, I don't. And even if they don't agree with all of his foreign policy positions, they're voting more for an attitude. And they're saying at least he's telling us what it is. He came out the other day and said, I don't care where guys piss.
Yeah.
Because that's just Trump. I mean, it wasn't really a smart thing to say if behind the scenes someone whispered in his ear, hey, your core constituents aren't going to like it.
Yeah.
He would have said, I don't care. This is how I feel, and I'm saying it anyway. I might change my mind on it later, but, that's my prerogative.
And that's right. I think people don't believe everything he says, and they don't agree with everything he says. I know I'm in that boat. But what we do like is that I think most of us believe that he's going to shake things up, and he will cause real change. And I think that's what people are looking for.
Well, he already is causing real change. And frankly, Hillary's negatives aren't that much better than Trump's. If you look at her negatives, they're pretty bad. I mean, she's only doing like 6 points better with women than he is.
Yeah.
So there is going to be he might not get a significant crossover vote from the Democrats. I'm still not convinced that he won't, but I don't know. I think that's up in the air. But I think there's going to be a large group of just not Hillary voting blocks that he can capture.
Yeah, but Trump is getting some weird supporters, like that rapper Iggy Azalea. She came out in support for Trump, and so that is kind of weird.
So did Kirstie Alley.
Yeah, I know he has crossover appeal. If I was Hillary, I'd be worried because he is demonstrating that he can pull people from the other side.
Right, and frankly, I thought he did a speech this afternoon on a whole foreign policy speech, and I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah, he's becoming more presidential.
Yeah, he is. He's going to have to do a slow. He just can't help himself. The guy's an entertainer, so if he's that guy, he's that guy at the party that if he gets a couple of laughs, he just keeps rapid fire with the jokes because he likes to get the laughs. So as long as people encourage him, as long as people see he says something about Kasich eating pancakes and the room erupts into laughter, he's just going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
that's just who he is, That's just who he is, but that's why we like him.
Yep.
He doesn't have his finger in the wind, and he doesn't have a team of strategists telling him what to say and what not to say. He just says what's on his mind. And, I get the thing where people say he flip-flops, and that's partially true. He has changed his mind on a couple of things. But I would like to know that why is it when Hillary and Obama do it, it's an evolution of thought. I mean, they both ran on marriages between a man and a woman. They both did. They both ran on that.
Yeah, I know.
And then
in her case, she evolved,
Yeah, they evolved. He flip-flops. That's I don't understand why. It just seems to me that that's certainly a double standard. But I think the people recognize it. As Newt Gingrich said last night, and I thought it was hilarious and right on point. He said the establishment politicians in Washington really seem to have this feeling that the American people are dangerously out of touch with the pundits because the pundits cannot explain what's going on here, and I can't explain it. I've been following politics for 20 years, and I can't explain what's going on here. It's a cult of personality, but I mean, I thought Obama was a cult of personality. This seems to even transcend that.
Yeah, I know.
It's fascinating. You're never going to see anything like it again, so soak it up because this is definitely voters are as angry as I've seen them and as disillusioned as I've seen them, and this is certainly a product of it. And his plain talking ways and his anti-PC stance, I think, have helped him. Other than that, I mean, it's going to take years of analysis before people can figure out just what the hell happened here.
Yeah.
But I think he's got a shot. I do think he has a shot. Yes, I do. And the polls have shown before that look, he started out the field in what 17-person field, right? So,
right.
And these guys beat the Republican primary is like the hockey playoffs. you want to win 4 games so that you can rest before your opponent, whoever that's going to be, wins their series. Otherwise, if it goes 7, they beat the shit out of each other, and all of a sudden the favorite team might not be because they took such a beating going to 7 games. Well, this primary is the same way. If they beat up on each other for this long and they throw insults at each other for this long, they really start to damage themselves in the general election. They need this to be over as soon as possible.
Right. I think they should end it now because it's pretty clear that Cruz has no chance, and even if it goes to the convention, the GOP establishment won't vote Cruz as a candidate. So he really needs to get out and respect the will of the people, and the will of the people is Trump.
It's not that I did. I'll tell you something. I don't totally dislike Cruz. I'm not one of those guys that. There seems to be 2 camps. You either hate Cruz or you hate Trump. But I don't agree with that.
I like Cruz too. He has good.
I do. I like Cruz. I think he has good credentials. I frankly would think he would make a great Supreme Court justice.
Yeah.
But the problem is he was the right candidate at the wrong time, and I worry that if he doesn't back out soon, he's going to sully his name so badly that there won't be another shot. If he got out of it now, he could take another shot at this. He's young enough, he's charismatic enough that he could take another run. But if he doesn't get out soon, I think he's going to damage his brand to the point where there isn't going to be a second chance here.
Yeah, and I think that's what Ashe said too. So yeah, good point. Hey Bacon, I'm going to have to cut out because I have to prepare for a presentation I'm giving Friday.
Yeah, we're going to wrap it up. I've been trying to keep these to an hour, so we're going to wrap it up. Professor, by the way, I delete. You know what I did this week? I deleted my Facebook account. And
Facebook is useless. Don't.
I don't miss it. I gotta be honest. I don't miss it. I thought I would miss it, but I don't.
Yeah, I don't like Facebook at all. It's useless. I only use Twitter. And when Twitter goes down, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Well, there's some old classmates and stuff I might miss. It's probably temporary. I anticipate jumping back on there, but I've had a couple interviews for positions I really like around here. And I'm just afraid. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid they're going to find it.
Oh, right.
So I have to kill it.
Twitter account. They may look at that one.
I don't believe that account has ever been associated with my real name long enough for them to connect it anyway. Google search it and connect it. I don't think that they could. So at least I hope not. But I don't think
if they ask me, I'll say I know exactly who this guy is.
I don't need I'll probably go to the interview to be some Asian guy. Say, I heard your show last week, you jerk. Discrimination.
Awesome.
All right, guys. Yes, thank you for coming on. Thanks. She has promised to come back, by the way. She apologized for the short amount of time she was able to give us, but she probably will make it back.
Cool, isn't she?
Yeah, I knew she was going to be cool. She's fun to talk to, and she's fun to talk. I want to get her back. So, all right, thank you. Thanks for listening. And I will see you all next week at 8 o'clock, and I don't know who the guest will be, but maybe, I don't know. We'll find somebody. Take care, guys.
See you, Daddy.